What's up, guys? It's John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Good morning. Today, I want to talk a little bit about this idea about like the truth train. This is kind of like getting on board on the path to truth, on the path to the soul. It's a journey. It's not like your typical journey that we usually think about, like when we're starting a new endeavor. There's no goal here. It's basically the reversing of the need to have any goals, really. It's the way to go about it. The truth train, once you get on it, it's like riding a current. There's a very razor sharp edge to the truth. It's difficult to get on the train, and what we need to be aware of is it's not a matter of trying to get on the truth train. It's more of a matter of just following the truth and allowing the results to happen naturally, because the side effects of following the truth is spiritual awakening. It'll happen naturally as a result of following the truth. So it's not a matter of putting forth effort. It's not a matter of trying to get to an end result or looking for rewards. It's a matter of putting forth effort to undo the need to put forth effort, which is really counterintuitive, and it sounds illogical. It sounds like it doesn't make sense, and it won't make sense to the mind. The mind can't do it. The mind is not the right tool for the job. It's the heart. The truth train is not an intellectual concept. I mean, you can think of it as intellectual, but it's an actual felt experience, direct, firsthand, that goes to the heart of the matter. It goes to our soul. It speaks to our substance. It speaks to our essence as a human being, our own divinity. And it's like awakening, almost like a stirring or calling, almost like a spark that we're trying to ignite. Now, when you first start to learn that this is a thing, it's going to seem like nothing's happening, and that's part of the cost. Part of the cost is continuing to pay the cost without looking or seeking for the rewards. And that's difficult to do for many people. There's a level of vulnerability, a level of having to feel your own deficiencies and looking at a lot of the parts of ourselves that we don't want to reveal. The ego personality, its tendency is to avoid the path. It's to avoid the truth train. It doesn't want to get on the train. It wants to live its own life. It wants to have its own way. It wants to be in control. It doesn't want to let go of doing things that it doesn't think are going to get it anything, like bring it any rewards. It's painful, and the ego's identity is trained to survive, so it's avoiding pain and seeking pleasure, which is counterintuitive to riding the truth train. The truth train, the ticket, when you punch that ticket to get on that train, it's a matter of leaving all things behind, like dropping all the ambitions and all our goals, all of our desires, all of our ideas of what we think is right and good to go after. It's difficult to do because as we're growing up in society, we've been trained by the people around us to orient ourselves towards grabbing and reaching for what we think is good. And that's kind of like a materialistic attitude if you look at it closely. embedded, or how, the way this is ingrained in our bodies and our DNA is that when we're babies, you got the placenta and you have the umbilical cord, and we're always seeking for what's on the outside of us to validate us, to nourish us, to feed us. And that the physicality of that, just the physicality of that, it ingrains and embeds in us the instinct to go and reach and grab and to get what's outside of us to fulfill us. But the truth train is the opposite. It's the reverse. It's going on the inside to find the nourishing. And people might, once they become aware that this is a thing, a lot of people aren't even aware that that's a possibility. But when we do the practices and begin to ride that truth train, we can see how difficult it is, because we've been so conditioned and so civilized and domesticated by society to do the exact opposite. And we won't know how bad of a ditch we're in until we try to reverse it and look at it and try to see that that's the suffering that's leading, that's not the path. And we have to really want to ride this truth train, to see that whatever we're doing in our lives and the way we're used to, what we've grown accustomed to, is not working. That's not it. We think a lot of times that if we try harder, it'll get us closer to what we want to get. But honestly, you have to kind of come to a place where you hit a rock bottom so hard where there's nothing, you don't know what else to do. And that's a very, difficult place to be, but it can also be a very graceful place. We can see that there's nothing but nowhere to go but up, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. When you hit that rock bottom, you have to be humble enough to give up and to see that we don't know what to do. We don't know how to do it. We don't know the way. We don't know the path. The path is a matter of finding us. The truth train finds us. Basically, it's a shattering, an undoing, a reversing, a disintegration of this identity of who we think we are. And this identity falls apart. It melts away. Its tendencies to grasp and reach, to attach itself to something, to attach itself to attachment, it gets loosened. And that loosening is kind of like undoing the glue that keeps us stuck to identity, to the judgment process and the judge. That's part of the truth train, the process of spiritual awakening and riding the truth train. And again, it's a very thin, very sharp, very invasive path. It cuts through the heart of our soul. The truth burns all falsehoods, and all that's left is like emptiness and nothingness. And if we're patient enough, that emptiness will show us what it's about. It'll show us that that's part of us. When I had my awakening, I experienced some type of black, almost like a black ball that came to me from outside of me, and it came to me and it descended on me, and I didn't know what it was. It was scary. Like this black thing. It was in my inner awareness. It wasn't in my outside awareness. It was an interior and inside of me. And it came to me. I got scared of it. I tried to push it away. I was like, what is that? I didn't like it. But after a while, I settled and it was peaceful, and it showed me that this is something good. And I was wondering, what is it? And I realized this is like a piece of space that came to me, an immaculateness, a clarity, and it was healing and soothing, and it showed me that this is part of who and what I am, this emptiness, this nothingness. And it was like, don't try to avoid me anymore. This is for your own good and your own benefit. And I accepted it. After a while, it started to grow, and it showed me this emptiness. I was that emptiness in the whole entirety of space. And that realization in itself was a healing, because it showed me that this space is not as bad as I thought it was. I judged it to be something terrible, to be avoided, to be buried and rejected, and to ignore, to be ignored. But it was, in fact, is just the opposite. This is a richness. This is the source of my value, and it was infinite and eternal. And I kept trying to figure out, why does this seem so familiar? This story of Jesus being born pure of a virgin, miraculous, buried and rejected, yet still lives. And I had all these experiences of like when Jesus healed all the people in the Bible. Like, I became the characters in the Bible that Jesus healed. And I was like, why does this feel so familiar? Why does this clarity, this emptiness, feels like it scattered all the voices that were in my head telling me what to do, like all the judgments and all the authority figures and all the pressures of the world. It shattered all that and cleared all that, and it felt like all of my mind, the process of thinking, was empty, it was clear, it was gone, and it scattered away. And it felt like when Jesus healed the man across the lake in shackles who had all the legion of voices in his head, and Jesus scattered them into the pigs, and the pigs fled over the edge of the cliff and drowned in the water. That was that awakening that I had when that emptiness came to me, and it scattered all the voices in my head, and I was left with clear transparency, a tranquility, a peacefulness that the world cannot give. This is like the peace I give to you that the world cannot give. It was, and all these Bible verses and all, that was just one of them, and multiple verses in the Bible came to me, and it felt like something, like some type of deja vu, and I was like, what is this? And it didn't, it took me a while, but I figured out that this story of Jesus is like a matter, it's like a parable, or a metaphor. It represents what happens to us when we go through a spiritual awakening process. And that's part of riding this train to truth. Those are the experiences we have. It's a beautiful thing, but at the beginning, we're not going to like it. We're going to hate it. The path to truth is very difficult. It's very counterintuitive, and the identity doesn't want anything to do with it. So we have to be willing, and we have to be ready and patient to ride this train to truth. The truth is there for everyone to know about, and it's important. But the world would make it seem like there's more important things. And the mind has its own ideas of what it wants to happen and what it thinks would be good, but we have to drop all that and allow what's there to be there. That emptiness, we have to accept it in its entirety, in its fullness, and it's scary because we feel like there's no support, there's nothing there to hold us. We feel like we're gonna fall and descend into nothingness, into an abyss, and we think when we reach the bottom, there's gonna be some devil with a pitchfork we're gonna land on that's gonna eat our souls and gobble us. It's scary. It's super terrorizing. It feels like you're going through hell. But I'm gonna propose that truth train, that feeling of going to hell, is actually the path to God that's going to take you to heaven. It's just the reverse. We don't know, we don't understand it, but I'm sure if people know about it ahead of time, it would make it easier. I hope it would. I don't know. You have to try for yourself and see. And that's the beauty of riding the truth train. It's your own experience. Everybody has their own path and their own calling, their own way that it's going to happen. I'm not here to tell you exactly how your experience is going to unfold. It's up to you to actually have the experience for yourself and to experience God. This is important stuff. I'm not here just to waste my breath here. I have a calling to stand up and speak about this here. I'm on this channel for a good reason. I know there's people out there that might think just hearing this that it sounds all impossible. And yeah, if we're thinking, if our mindset and our attitude and our approach is coming at it the wrong way, it's not going to work. And that's part of the beginning, though. It's a matter of like a process of elimination. We see what's not going to work. So to get to the truth and ride that truth train, the way we do that is by seeing through the falsehoods and seeing what doesn't work. It's a process of elimination until there's nothing left. And that nothingness is the beginning. It's not the end like we think it is. Riding the path of truth is a super sharp, counterintuitive, upside down, backwards way of going about life almost. It's incompatible with the ways of the world and the status quo and the way things are. We have to give up all of that and be willing to face losing everything and everything we're invested in, everything we're hoping for, everything we're dreaming for, everything we're living for. But it's possible. There's a part of us that's one with the truth. It's deep inside us. It's already there. That's the beauty of it. It's just a matter of seeing what's in the way and uncovering and unfolding of something that was there from the beginning. When we were children, we were very close. We were very close to the kingdom. As we get older, we start to get on these ideas and it starts to becomes obscure, like the proximity becomes in the background instead of it being in the foreground. Because when you see little children, they're happy for no reason because they're close to the kingdom. And right about when we become adults, transition from childhood to adulthood, something happens, like it switches off and there's a whole another agenda, a whole nother set of priorities that takes over our lives, and we miss the beauty, the grace, the magic, the majesty of being close to the truth. But we can ride that truth train and come back to ourselves and experience God. That's what the path of the soul is all about, and that's what I'm here. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm trying to do, to help guide people and be an example. And I want people to, take my words and apply it to their own lives and see how it works for them in their own lives. It's an experience, a lived experience. It's not just something to be talked about, as I keep saying and I keep emphasizing, because these are important principles, and without understanding and without knowing and seeing how this path works, without knowledge, it's very difficult for anyone to know it would be to find God and not know that, the way, how difficult it is and all the traps that you can fall into without knowing every single reason, every single way, every single thing that blocks us. I don't think the path can be successfully traversed without this type of information. Like, this is kind of, in a way, it's almost an oral thing. Like, this information has been passed down through the generations. Like, there's certain people in the world that have this information, but they keep it to themselves, or it's not a matter of advertising, it's like a matter of attraction. So the people who really need this information will eventually get it. but there's very few, it has to happen in some type of way that it's out of your control, it's out of my control. The universe and humanity through the generations, they've kind of passed this down traditionally, orally, and there's people that have this type of orientation in their hearts already, and we have to be drawn and attracted to it. You know, when Jesus in the Bible says, you know, no one comes to the Father unless I draw them. That's kind of what this soul is about. It's a long, arduous process, but there's a train that you can get on. It's like a river. You get on it, and it's a current that will take you further than you ever think you could get. Like, when the birds fly south for the winter, sometimes they catch like the jet stream or something, or whatever type of current is in the air that'll get them a little further, and all you have to do is get close to it, and then it takes you, and you ride this current in it. It's really an experience that you have to try for yourself and see what it is. You ride that truth train, and it's like you can't get off. It has you. You don't have it. It has you, and it grabs a hold of you and takes you. There's no control over it. So, but it's totally worth it. Like, you have to be trusting and to know that it's going to be worth it in the end, and just continue to walk the path. This truth doesn't stop. It's forever. That's the beauty of it, the grace of it. You never stop riding it. It never stops riding you. I know in my life, I've kind of, when I first had my spiritual awakening, it was very strong, and it's kind of dwindled. I'm not going to lie, because, you know, the world, you still have to live a life, and after a while, it's not as strong, and it's kind of like, oh my God, did I lose it? No, it's still there, it's still active and present, but it's not as strong as it used to be. You know, you get worried. I got like issues in my life. I have very high blood pressure, and I'm trying to diminish my blood pressure. It's probably this job I have. I'm working so hard, and I try so hard, and that effort that I always put in everything I do, it's been slowly accumulating and building pressure in my artery walls and making things difficult for me, because I very rarely find ways to release that pressure. And I'm trying to get better at it and do more exercising and all that. But what I'm saying is, like, the ways of the world becomes, that becomes too important than walking the path to truth, then we have an issue. That path to truth has to be the number one priority. It doesn't mean that you don't take care of yourself and your health and whatever finances you need, and take a job and work and make a living. It doesn't mean any of that. Just means that the truth is the most important priority, and riding that train, wanting to stay on that train, has to be at the forefront of your mind at all times. It's an ongoing, it's a job that never ends, it never quits. It can get difficult, and it can be sometimes disheartening and discouraging, because you're not making any progress, it seems like. But if you just keep working, the rewards will come by themselves. And riding that truth train is not a matter of, oh, I want to get something out of it. No, it's going to get something out of you. It's the reverse. It's going to ask, you need to give it everything. That's the way the truth train works. So, you know, punch your ticket and try to get on there. And I'm probably not the only person that has any type of information, so I'm sure there's other spiritual teachers and other people out there that you can get information from, but I'm just one of many. And I'm just here to try to help people. This is what my channel is about. And the truth train is not going to make you very popular. It's going to put you to the sidelines. It's going to show you the truth, and the truth is not, a lot of times, a lot of people can't digest it. So and it takes a very special person, a very special attitude and mentality to want to do this, to risk it all, put all your eggs in one basket and risk it all. That's part of riding the train to truth, riding this truth train. Very thin, razor sharp edge. Like I said, it's a current that takes over your life. But that's the beauty and the grace. And once you get on this train, you feel like I lack nothing. That's my message today. I hope you guys get something out of that. Leave some comments, suggestions, and maybe some feedback. And hope you guys have a good rest of your day. John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Peace.